I'm curious your thoughts on the role unions might play, either as they exist today or in some other form, either things that come to mind, like maybe, like some more old-fashioned guild system where the unions are simply trade-based, or other ones that operate across industry, like I'm an SEIU member, for example, right? Or are they just sort of anachronistic, sort of workers' vanguard spectacles that we can just kind of throw aside?
Good, wonderful question. Let me try to answer. And again, rather than my spinning out my own thoughts about that, let me start from a concrete example. The Steelworkers Union here in the United States, one of the largest unions in the AFL-CIO here, stunned the world of American labor 2 years ago when they issued a press release announcing the formal alliance, I'll use their words, the formal alliance between the Steelworkers Union of the United States, which I don't know how many members it has, but in the hundreds of thousands, big union, with Mondragon, the huge successful worker self-directed enterprise in Spain. And I remember many of us were taken aback. What an interesting idea, an alliance. What did it mean? Well, the details were hard to come by. It seems as though there was discussion, obviously, between them. They issued a joint press release and had a press conference. But it's hard to tell, so I'm now going to imagine where this might go. I'm not saying that's where they're taking it. I don't know exactly where they're going to take it, or even whether they're going to take it somewhere. But here's what I would do. Imagine a trade union movement with a completely different strategic idea from what it has typically been. Unions have typically been organizations who make it possible for workers, instead of bargaining individually with the employer to get particular conditions of work, the union bargains for the workers collectively, collective bargaining. And so it enters into a negotiation with an employer to get a contract that covers all the workers in a workplace, what unions do. And they try to get better wages than the workers have been able to get, better working conditions, and so forth. Well, imagine now the following. The union sits down and bargains for the workers. But it doesn't just say, hey, we would like higher wages or better working conditions, and if you don't do that, we may strike, and all the usual that I think you understand. But now they have a new weapon, a new chip, if you might say, to play. If you don't come to a reasonable agreement with us about wages and working conditions, we have another plan. We may withdraw the workers from your plant and set up our own. What? That's never happened before. What an idea. Indeed, the union might begin to develop small enterprises that do things like a company that they're bargaining with, just to make it a little more realistic. So that when they say that to the employer has a new problem. Imagine an employer saying, I want these and these concessions from you workers, or else I'm leaving the country. It happens every day in the United States. And the union, what is it going to do? It's afraid of losing the job, so it gives away a benefit program or a wage or something, medical coverage, in order to hold on to the job. It's very understandable. Yeah, but suppose a union had another option. Okay, we want you not to leave, and we don't want to give you a concession. But we're telling you, if you do not accept, you leave, we're going to take every one of the workers you fire, and we're going to set up a factory right here. Right here. We may even take over the one you've abandoned, buy it from you. And we're going to go around the United States and we're going to explain to people that you went to China. And they can go ahead and buy it from you, or they can buy it from us. The workers you abandoned that are here and that are asking you as a fellow American to support us. Ooh, that company might think a little longer before it takes off for China because it's got a new problem. It might not want to do that. It might not want to take that risk. It might not want to face that kind of competition. It's a whole new ball game. It might also allow unions to do something for workers that they can't do now. When workers are unemployed who used to be members of such and such a local or such and such a union, they're now unemployed. They go get an unemployment check. Suppose the union said, no, there's something else we can do for you. We can help you. We can bring in specialists. We can help you set up, under the auspices of the union, an enterprise that will serve this community in all kinds of ways. And we will go to the community because we're based in it and urge people to buy from this co-op rather than from where they've been buying. We can begin to develop a network. That's what Mondragon did. That's how they grew that way. Everybody helped everybody else. I don't know what all the benefits would be, but let me make a suggestion. A labor movement that has been declining without interruption for 50 years better come up with something new, because what it's been doing hasn't worked. I'm not being disrespectful, man. I know the numbers, the graph that I teach in my classes of what has happened to unions is unambiguous. The line goes from here and it keeps going down. It's long overdue to change the strategic. And here's an idea. And wouldn't it be interesting if unions became known in America, not just for doing the work for collective bargaining for their members in such and such an industry, but part of a social movement to rebuild a new society around the concept of democracy at work, becoming the champions for a whole new way of living and working, would give the unions a role in society that they once had as part of a better world for people, a whole new set of opportunities going far beyond the job and the conditions of the particular place where the union was born. What an exciting new vista for a labor movement, which really badly needs new ideas and new visions. So I was very excited by what the steelworkers and Mondragon making an alliance might mean, but it'll take many people pushing in that direction to realize the potential. Sir.
Because of your interview on Charlie Rose. I'm fascinated, first of all. I watch him almost every evening, so you get a pretty good sense of the way he responds to different people. He seemed to be a little bit uncomfortable with some of the questions that he was trying to elicit answers. So I'd like your impression of that. Second, I'm fascinated by this concept of Madrigal, because I think that clearly we have a problem that we do not have an answer for. But at the same time, I look at this and I think in terms of the capital formation. So one of the things that would be helpful for me to understand in the context of the employees since 1956, what did they do to prepare themselves for after they retired? Was there a capital formation within the company itself? And within that context, because of their success, have there been other companies or other organizations within the Spanish culture that have fostered like-minded companies to go in competition, and what is the result of that? So that's three.
Okay. Real quick, because we're running out of time. Charlie Rose's team came to us. We did not solicit the opportunity. They came. And I think that's very significant. I think that Charlie Rose, like other major news outlets and commentary shows like that, are beginning to recognize that a part of the conversation that folks like us were kind of kept from public conversation, we're now, to make it very simple, the critique of capitalism is now part of the national conversation. And that wasn't true for most of the last 50 years. One of the points I tried to make on that program. So I take it as an enormously courageous thing that he did, because he knew he was kind of pushing the envelope there to invite David Harvey and myself. And I thought he handled it pretty well. He was very straight with us, and he was partly uncomfortable because there was supposed to be a third person there who never showed up. And that always throws he had gotten prepared for a three-way, and that chair had to be removed for the TV audience shouldn't see. I understand Mr. Eastwood does that, but we can't do that. So it had to be the chair had to be removed. He was a little shaken by that. Also, if you've ever been in one of these shows, it's a collective hysteria. I mean, it has a logic to it, but there's all these people running around and these lights and cameras. And we're all covered with pounds of makeup, and it's a stressful. I mean, he's used to it, but it's a stressful situation. But I was pleased. I thought that really went pretty well, and that we got a lot of feedback from it. I keep getting, like you, people who've seen it and talked about it. So that's very impressive to me, and I feel grateful that I had an opportunity to talk. Mondragon understood this problem long ago. When you're as big as they are, they developed a number of specialized enterprises. For example, they have their own bank. And so they handle all their banking. And that bank actually lends outside to non-Mondragon entities as well. And they also set up retirement homes. And the bank runs its own retirement program for all workers. So a portion of the net revenue of every enterprise is siphoned off, put into this thing, which it also then uses as seed money for more new co-ops, which then have to repay, and that builds up the fund for retirement. So if you work at Mondragon, not only is your job guaranteed, so is your retirement for the rest of your life. And they have a growing retirement industry because they're so big. They have all these people who need that when they reach 60, whatever it is, a little younger than it is here, 62, I think. And so they have all of that. I really do urge you, on the last point, are there people learning? They have a whole apparatus that does nothing but run courses in what they do. They have something called the Mondragon University. It has 4 different campuses. This is an enormous operation. When you visit them, you think you're walking into an amazing large corporate headquarters, because that's what it is. And they have lots of buildings in various towns. And as I say, I went there, and I was taken under the wing of a professor at one of their Mondragon, that's what it's called, Mondragon University. And he happened to be an American who went over there, and he teaches business methods for co-ops. That's his specialty, is to help people from around the world who come there, from all over the world. You can come for a day, you can come for week-long seminars, all kinds of programs to teach exactly what they've done, but with an awareness that in each different country and in each different region there will be the local customs and culture that have to be taken into account, and they can only do so much, but it's a very elaborate proselytizing, if you like, but all within a university kind of framework. Very beautiful seminar rooms which we were taken to, all the latest audio visual to help teach all of this stuff. And so they're very serious operation, very successful. That's why, and you can go. I mean, you just have to go in advance. You get in touch with them, and you can come there, and they'll take you through and answer your questions. Very good English. They make sure to teach the different languages that they have as Europeans. Very sophisticated operation. I was not ready for that. The corporate headquarters looked, with manicured lawns and fountains and all of that stuff. It looks like what it is, a very successful corporation. They're very careful to avoid politics. I asked about that. We keep away from Spanish politics. They're clearly left-wingers. That's very obvious. But they're very afraid they don't want to become part of the struggles among the parties. So they're very, and every government now needs them. Every Spanish government needs them. I should mention, if you're into very briefly, that there are special conditions. The beginning of this thing was, the man's name was Arizmendi. That's why the name of the bakeries in San Francisco is in honor of a Catholic priest, Father Arizmendi, who began this. So already you notice something unusual, because this co-op was started by a Catholic priest. Spain is a very Catholic country. I mean, it's a Catholic country squared. I mean, it's like Ireland or Poland. I mean, they take that very seriously there, which is very different from France. I know from my family that Catholicism in my family, and they're nominally Catholic, is a joke. I mean, the priest is always the butt of a funny story, and is an idiot. And the way the Catholic Church is viewed by Catholics in France, by many, is as clownish. It has to do with the French Revolution. Spain is not like that. So it's very serious. So that it got protection in the early years because it was a project of the Roman Catholic Church. And that gave them that. Plus, this is a part of Spain that is its own ethnic group. It's called Basque, B-A-S-Q-U-E, Basque. They have their own language. I'm good at languages. I couldn't understand a word of it. And they speak it. It's not a language for festivals. It's a language of every day for many villages in this. It's a mountainous area. So they have an ethnic uniqueness. They're Roman Catholic, and the church protected in a sense. Again, they couldn't be attacked quite so easily. It wasn't as if the Communist Party did this or something like that. It was the church. And finally, there's a long history of the Basques not being very comfortable within Spain. So they demand independence. They have their own military. There were times when the Spanish government tried to control them, but it's a hilly country, and they a guerrilla basically. So the Spanish government is very eager not to have fights with these people because they fight back. So between the church and their own language and customs and their willingness to fight, they had certain privileges, if you like, special conditions that helped make that possible there. That's true.